So, hi everybody. Hi Nikki.
Hi, Tammy.
We're after round 4. We're after Jerez, and we are talking about a few issues that happened in Jerez. First, let's run through really quickly what happened when we got to Europe. We got to Europe. It was extremely hot. We saw a very hectic weekend again. We saw again quite a lot of crashes. We heard a lot of stories about tires, pressure, a lot of talk about a lot of issues. We saw also 2 red flags. We saw 4 starts of races, and we saw orange guys blooming, and we saw a world champion prove why he is the world champion. And it was a very hectic weekend. You were there. You were close to it. I was following closely from the offices in the channel and from my booth there. But there was really a lot of talk, a lot of issues coming again and raising again. We're not going into details exactly what happened during the weekend. You know already what happened during the weekend. We saw Brad win again. We saw Pecco win again. We saw Bez losing the leading of the championship, but we also heard a lot of frustration again from almost every level of members in the paddock, in almost any position that there are. We're from riders, from teams, from managers, from journalists, and also from top people in the championship involved in one way or the other, because judgment, steward panel, the whole issue is there every time, and it's like a cloud on the championship. And let's just mention a few of the things that happened this weekend that caused that. We saw 3 penalties.
Just before going there, just 2 quick thoughts. So first of all, we've been really close to see a historical moment, the first weekend ever when the top 3 of the sprint and the podium guys, I'm still learning and I'm getting used to that because the sprint is not a podium. So I cannot say that same podium finish, but we've been really close to not just have the same 3 guys, which by the way happened the first time, but in the same order. But Pecco Bagnaia had a different ID, clearly, and he destroyed this kind of party. So we still have to wait to the weekend where the top 3 in the same order we will see after a sprint and after the Sunday race. You don't agree?
Well, I don't find it really important. I don't really care, but it's not the kind of numbers that I'm looking for. But okay, if that intrigues you, I'm cool with that. What was the other issue that you wanted to mention before we go there?
I think I just wanted to mention the heat, but that was a bit better during the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because like Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe a little bit Thursday, but really hot. So we had some luck here.
Again, the heat wave, and this is actually another issue that we will come back to again and again, because let's put it this way: we destroyed the world. We have to face it now. So the weather is going to be crazy all the time. It's going to radically change, and we're not going to be able to expect anything to be as clear as it used to be. We already saw it this season a few times, and we're going to see it again because that's what we've done, and we have to pay for it. And in some kind of way, it gives us more excitement because the riders also never know what to expect. So we and Michelin also never know what to expect because they have to plan the tire schedule and tire booking, let's say, months in advance.
Well, yeah, if not more. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because it all has to be shipped in a hammock, but that's a completely different topic. One day maybe we'll talk about that.
Yes.
So we had 3 penalties in MotoGP. We had 2 red flags. Both were after a crash that were involving a Yamaha rider, Monster Yamaha riders. The first one in the sprint was Frankie, and then he got the long lap penalty for the race the following day. And Fabio was the cause, let's say, officially the cause, but we're gonna go into that in the crash in the full race, and he didn't know before the race was restarted that he has to do a long lap penalty. And then we had Pecco during the race that he tried to pass, and he did pass Jack Miller, but there's a debate, and there still is a debate if it was a clean pass, if he should have got a penalty for it or not. Most of the people say about all three penalties that they shouldn't have been given to anybody. Yamaha tried to debate that with the steward panel. They did an appeal for both, one officially and one there was no time, so they went to talk to them.
Okay.
But it wasn't something that really do anything. Frankie, they just paid the fine. They did appeal, but it was rejected. And so the reaction to those three penalties were, how do we say gently?
Don't be gently.
Not understood.
Yeah. So first of all, as you said, two first lap incidents, and we unfortunately we will see, I think, more during this season. This track is a narrow track, so it was kind of expected, or it was not a huge surprise that it happened. For me, though, it was a surprise that it happened twice. Frankly speaking, after the Saturday one, I thought that the riders would pay more attention on Sunday, but as I think we also mentioned all the previous episodes, they are racers and they are there for win and overtake. Okay, we will come back for overtake. And then two different but similar situations.
Pretty similar. Yeah, okay. The leading to it was a little bit different, but
yes,
both of them pretty similar, same corner. Actually, I found it really amusing that both of them, Jack Miller was leading, and the second time the race restarted, both of them, it was Brad Binder leading. So it was really strangely very, very similar in that sense.
A lot of similarity, but what I wanted to add here, that one huge difference, that they didn't penalize Franco immediately, let's say, but it was for the next race he attended, which was clearly the day after. And that's why, by the way, Yamaha could appeal, because normally if it's a long lap penalty or a drop position, in case of Pecco, so it's a penalty that the rider have to serve immediately or during that same race. No appeal can be done, because I mean, even if you appeal, what they do, so they cannot do back and turn back time and just cancel everything. And also this was, and a couple of riders mentioned also this. So one, they could wait, understand, analyze in case of Morbidelli, and then give the penalty out only after. With Fabio, maybe because of what happened the day before, they really wanted to rush the decision, which for me was, I mean, insane. Not say anything bad or anything that's not suitable for a podcast or a video.
Well, just to make it clear, there's always the IRTA guy that goes around and tell the team the punishment. They usually have a short discussion of why did that happen. So sometimes there's a little bit of gap to try to do something. Afterwards, we know from Fabio also that Mayo and Lynn Jarvis went together to talk to the steward panel to understand. We spoke in length about the steward panel before, because we spoke about it in regards to Mark, that we are still waiting for the official announcement about that. There's a built-up anger and frustration from everybody participating in the MotoGP, including the fans that are sitting at home and watching, because they are fans of somebody, but mainly most of them are fans of the sport, and they don't want the sport to be decided by a legal team or decisions that are not fair or might hamper the sport. So to see that happening again and again and again, that's pretty frustrating. And then we had the third one, which was Pecco, and that was during the race, and that was a pass that he made. And we spoke briefly before that, because for me, it was obvious that they're going to give a penalty, because it was, to me, it looked the same as the one that was with Sasaki a few weeks ago. And that's why it was obvious to me that they're going to give the penalty. And I'm not even going to mention now if I think it's correct or not correct. I'm just saying that for me, it was obvious that they're going to give it, because they are trying to be coherent, repetitive. But it's not. Nikki, let me finish, because they are not doing a good job at that. But still, it was obvious to me that they are going to give a penalty to Pecco, though they didn't give a penalty to Jack Miller later. They didn't give a penalty to Alex Marquez before. So there's so many things here that are lacking in coherency, in repetitiveness, in clearness, and in fairness, actually. And you were there to hear everything directly from all the riders. So what do you hear? And then you can tell me what you think.
Okay, first, then what did I hear? And then I also have a question for you, Tammy, when we finish this block. So going back to the Morbidelli thing, and also answering your question, what did the riders say? Alex Marquez told us a really interesting story on Sunday, if I'm not mistaken, because clearly I think all the riders have been asked about the penalties. And Alex said that, yes, same thing, that he doesn't understand, because sometimes it's a yes, sometimes it's no. I won't repeat it because all the riders said the same thing. There's no consistency. Okay. Alex added also that, by the way, he doesn't understand or doesn't agree with the penalty of Morbidelli, though he was not agree, and he didn't understand why Jorge Martin was not given a penalty at Cota. And they asked, Alex and the Gresini team, they asked, and the answer was that because you didn't send us an email and you didn't point it out that you think that something should have been thought through, let's say. So Team Gresini and Alex Marquez, after the Morbidelli clash in the sprint, they said, okay, let's try this system. Let's send an email and ask the stewards. And then the penalty came out from Franco Morbidelli, which is again another small detail. No, you don't. But this is what Alex.
It's not. No, I don't believe it. I know. It's hard to believe that this is how it's working.
Frankly speaking,
this is not how this should be working. No rider and no team should appeal and ask to give a penalty. They should be able to see it. Just so it's clear, the last few years, the number of people trying to help the steward panel has grown. Each round we're getting to, there's a room full of people. Some of them are working for the TV, so they can see all the action that's on the track. But they also get assistance from people from the track that are knowledgeable of the track, of where action is, and they are sitting there and helping them observe what's going on during the race. So they are supposed to be helping the steward panel not to miss anything. And that's why also they have all these, I forgot the word. Oh my God. On the green,
the sensors?
That's why, yes, thank you. That's why they have all the sensors. So they don't have to waste their time looking at that. They can put all their strength into seeing the action on the track. The sensors, after the sensors are activated, then they can go back. They can see if something was wrong. That's how it works. but they have people there who are supposed to help them and supposed to help them not miss anything on the track, not only by the leaders, mid-pack, and the bottom of the pack, because things are happening there all the time, all race, and they need to make sure that things are clean for the leaders and in the middle.
Yeah, this is what Joan Mir said Sunday evening, that even if, and this is the same thing that Aleix Espargaro said, I think after Portimao or Argentina, I'm not sure. So Joan said that looks like they are still at the same level, and they're only watching the situations that we can see on TV, nothing else, though they have a lot of other information, as you just explained. But also riders started to complain about other riders. Looks like everyone has his own, how to say, chose or picked up. So for example, Maverick Vinales was really angry with Alex Marquez because he's every time in the middle of something. So looks like we are arriving to a situation, and I hope it's not like this, and it was only for this weekend, but something similar that we can see now in Formula One, and I don't like it. So riders pointing on other riders, you know, so these things I don't think we need, but this can be stopped only in one way, if consistent penalties come. And we can start to complain about the too many penalties, and we don't need this. We want to see racing, right? We want to see overtaking. We want to see riders trying to overtake. But don't forget that at the end of the day, it has been the riders who asked the stewards to give out penalties.
Yeah, but let's clarify it. First of all, they want to know that everybody who deserves a penalty gets a penalty, and they don't have to look for it. They need to trust the system. Trusting the system means that all the penalties are giving. They know what to expect and when they're going to get a penalty, so it's not something that is not clear for them as well. They know what they're going to get, so it's not something that changes all the time, but it's very clear. But also, they want at the same time to be able to still ride. And that's why they were very happy at the start when decisions were made and the head of the stewards panel was chosen, that was the person, because they were expecting a person that could understand how they feel, what they do, what it means to ride on the bike. It's not the situation at the moment.
No, not at all. And what Franco Morbidelli mentioned, for example, that it's incredible that there is no conversation between the riders and between the FIM MotoGP Stewards Panel. So, and also one other thing I would like to mention here, that because when we ask the riders, normally we get back a question: why don't you ask the stewards? Because we are not allowed to talk to the stewards. We can send questions, but normally we don't get answers. So riders said during this weeks, the Jerez weekend safety commission, that they want to sit down together with the stewards and get some explanations. So during the Le Mans weekend and during the Le Mans safety commission, finally, they will have a chance to ask some explanations from the stewards panel.
Okay, so they have been asking for this for 3 years almost, because they really begged for it. Now there's a logic, a legal logic in not, let's say, the felon or the accuser is not supposed to be chatting to the referee. That's not how it goes. It doesn't go like that in any sport. The problem is, in this case, specifically how I see it, is that it's not clear and they want explanations. And that's something that they're not getting. Because if the steward panel were giving a clear explanation every time they were giving a penalty, and they could have seen that there is no clear line or clear decisive method that they are taking. And some of the things that they are actually putting out, and we spoke about it briefly, even the wording in the in what they wrote for Frankie Morbidelli looked a little bit odd, because ambitious is something that we need the rider to be. The riders are supposed to be ambitious, and it didn't state overly ambitious. It didn't state anything else that was leading into a thought that the rider should have known that he wasn't capable of doing something specific. The referees, the steward panel, they need also to adjust to the current situation. We have a very, very competitive championship. We have very many good riders, many more than we used to have. Most of them are on terrific bikes, and even the gap between the worst bike on the grid and the best bike on the grid, let's put it up, well, it's not that big as it used to be. It's not the CRT and the Yamaha of the day. It's really, really close. So the fighting is really close. The lines are really tighter. They have a lot more similar lines than before. So when the development of the bikes and the riders and the way they work and the way they ride is changing, so that part should be a bit more professional in that way. And they're not able to give those replies and answers now.
Yeah, already back to the wordings, 2 quick thoughts. On the same day, I think 2 or 3 hours apart, on Saturday, we got the email about 2 penalties. One was a Moto3 rider, sorry, I cannot recall the name now, and the other one was Franco Morbidelli.
Asman was the rider.
Yes, thank you. And there they put again that the penalty should be served during the Spanish GP, to make it short, without mentioning the sponsor name, because now I cannot recall the official name. 2 hours later, Franco Morbidelli's sanction. Next race when the rider participates, and then a 3 lines long, so complicated sentence about which is considered to be the next race of the riders. So already this was, for me, sorry, ridiculous. It looks like they didn't learn anything from what happened in Portimao. Secondly, this ambitious thing, it was in the explanation why the appeal was reduced, not reduced, refused, sorry, I don't find the words either. Refused, sorry, long days. And yeah, again, probably they just forgot to add another word, overly ambitious, but again, these kind of mistakes, I think we shouldn't see in a World Championship level. But there's another thing. Frankie almost came out from him when we talked to him on Sunday again. Then he said, okay, I think it's better if I don't say, but then, you know, it's a small word. So sounds like when Yamaha, when Mayo Meregali and Lynn Jarvis went to the stewards panel to get some explanation about the penalty of Franco Morbidelli, they've been told that Frankie should have been considered before that movement, that Alex Marquez is an aggressive rider. So, I mean, really? I don't know what to add here. So maybe I just stop this sentence here.
Yeah, but we need to think about that. Some of our viewers are actually listeners, so you need to.
Okay.
So I can describe Nikki's loss of words.
Thank you.
Because this is not how it's supposed to be. It's like telling a rider, don't try to pass him; he will pass you back. So why are you attacking him? Or this is completely wrong. And this is not something that we need the riders to think about. We know, though, that all of this is starting to play a game on their minds, because we know that it's somewhere in the back of their heads, parallel, because it is starting to affect the racing. It will affect the racing if this is going to continue, because if they are gonna be fearing what action is gonna be taken, then they won't try to do what we expect them to do and what we want them to do and what they are there for, and actually what they enjoy doing. And we, if this was the way that things were in the past, we would have missed so much
Exactly.
from what we love so much about this sport.
Exactly. And I asked Pecco about it Monday evening after the test. And he said that, okay, he thinks that if all these penalties haven't happened during the weekend and all these things that wouldn't happening, but we can see this year also, Brad.
Yeah, let's just remind everybody that they got a warranty before the season started that the penalties are going to be harsher, quicker, and more intense. And at the start of the season, all the riders will told that.
Yes, at Portimao they had a 1.5 hour long briefing beginning of the season. So Pecco said that he thinks that without this or without these, Brad would have tried the overtake, you know, the famous last corner overtake at Jerez. So I asked Brad Binder about it, and basically he confessed and he said that yes, he absolutely had it in his mind that just a small touch or something that not, let's say, 100% clear, and the penalty would have arise. So he decided just not to go there, and that's it. So I hope that they can find a balance really, really soon. Yes, let's give out penalties when really something hard happens. I agree. I agree that there is a limit for aggressivity, okay, but please consider the bikes that the riders have to ride these days. Please consider the situation, the track, and a lot of other factors. And just don't destroy real racing, because at least me, but I think Tommy shared the same opinion. We love to see racing, real competition, and overtakes. And one other thing I was wondering in the last couple of days, that how excited all the riders were at the end of 2018 when it was announced that Freddie Spencer would arrive and be in the MotoGP Stewards Panel, basically replacing Mike Webb, because Mike Webb was already that time and still race director, so he has a lot of things to do, to check, to control, safety, etc. So he really had no time to judge and judge.
Yeah, he's, let's just explain. He's so busy that this year he's actually not. He's only from MotoGP. We have Graham Webber for Moto2, Moto3, and Moto.E. So Mike Webb can really concentrate on his job and job alone, and it was separated. And let's just clarify for some, because if it's not clear for everybody, the steward panel is built from 3 people. One is Freddie Spencer, who's the head of the steward panel, and he is chosen by Dorna. And the other 2 are an FIM, chosen by the FIM. So it's a mix from Dorna and the FIM, and everybody, you know, it's not under the control of the FIM, the position of Freddie Spencer. He's an excellent rider, was an excellent rider. He's a legend. But, you know, there are certain positions that maybe being a lawyer would have been better. Maybe a different kind of character would have been more suitable. Maybe a more recent rider to understand a little bit more the certain situation, because the riders do believe that the person in charge should be a rider. That they don't have a doubt about.
Exactly. And before we start this, oh Jesus, sorry, guys, I'm too tired after the 5 days, or basically 6 days at Jerez. Sorry. So before we finish this chapter and this topic, my question, basically 2 questions. Don't you think that all what we could see in Jerez with the penalties, I mean, is happening because of what happened at Portimao with Marquez? First question. Second question, if they keep doing this way with the penalties and an overtake what Pecco Bagnaia did on Miller reserves a penalty, then what's going to happen when Marc Marquez is back? How many penalties he will get? How many long lap penalties will we see from him each race?
Well, first of all, if we see a long lap penalty from him, then we see him start from the back of the grid, and then we see him get a black flag for a race. Because that's how the penalties work now. It's a growing up in scale. It's not like he's going to get a penalty, a long lap penalty every time. So, let's put it this way. If this was how it was a few years ago, we would have seen Mark sit out most of the season because of penalties.
This is where I wanted to run.
And really, we would have seen Valentino Rossi sit out of most penalties. I actually saw a meme today. I'll send it to you. I'll look for it. I don't know if I saved it or not. I saw a meme of Freddie Spencer cutting the track in his days. So, you know, it happens. Most of the riders, most of the things that we saw and we mentioned, and actually every action that we saw in corner 13 in Jerez until now would have been given penalty.